Dead men tell no tales, but their ships speak volumes. Welcome to the Cursed Compass, where we explore the darkest maritime mysteries. It is November 1867, and the rescue brig Amherst is navigating the freezing, storm-battered waters off the coast of the sub-Antarctic Auckland Islands. Through the fog and driving rain, the crew spots a jarring silhouette on the rocky beach. 10 emaciated, feral figures, wrapped head to toe in crude, rotting animal skins, are frantically waving makeshift flags. The sailors initially brace themselves for an encounter with hostile locals, but as they row closer to the shoreline, the shock sets in. These skeletal figures call out in weak, strained English. They are European castaways. They are the final 10 survivors of the General Grant, a massive American sailing bark that vanished 18 months earlier. The ship was widely presumed to be resting at the bottom of the ocean, taking 83 passengers and crew and a staggering fortune in gold with it. To see how a group of wealthy Victorian passengers devolved into these feral phantoms, we have to look back at one of the most claustrophobic shipwrecks in maritime history. On May 4, 1866, the General Grant departed Melbourne, bound for London. Among its 83 passengers and crew were several highly successful miners returning home from the Australian goldfields. They were bringing their fortunes with them. Sitting in the ship's hold alongside wool and zinc ballast was 2,576 ounces of raw gold. Today, that cargo would be worth over $50 million. This 1775 maritime chart shows the extreme isolation of their planned route. To make the long journey east toward Cape Horn, the captain intended to ride the Roaring Forties, a notorious band of strong prevailing winds that ship captains used to slingshot their way around South America. But 9 days into the voyage, the winds died. Without wind, a sailing ship cannot steer. Drifting helplessly in the dark, heavy ocean currents dragged the vessel toward the jagged western cliffs of Auckland Island. Instead of striking open rock, the General Grant was pulled into a massive sea cave. Inside, the rising tides lifted the vessel, slamming its 100-foot masts into the rock ceiling. With every swell, immense pressure drove those masts downward, punching through the hole. The General Grant was crushed from the top down by the island itself. The hull fractured and sank, drowning 68 people in absolute darkness and trapping $50 million in gold at the bottom of the cavern. 15 people managed to escape the cave in a single lifeboat. Among them was one woman, Marianne Jewell. They washed up on a barren, windswept rock in the sub-Antarctic, with nothing but the soaked clothes on their backs. Their immediate survival hinged on a single item salvaged from the wreck: one match. An Irish miner named James Tier took on the terrifying responsibility of lighting it. His first attempt failed. With trembling hands, Tier dried the match head against his own body heat, rebuilt the kindling, and tried a second time. The tiny flame caught. If it hadn't, they would have frozen to death in days. As the harsh sub-Antarctic winter set in, starvation loomed. The castaways tore apart the planks of their damaged lifeboat to fashion crude wooden clubs. They survived by hunting massive, aggressive fur seals, engaging in desperate, close-quarter struggles just to secure enough meat to stay alive. As the months stretched past a year with no sign of a rescue ship, their minds began to fracture. Paranoia crept in. Arguments over trivial matters turned vicious. Their physical condition deteriorated rapidly, and the makeshift clothing Marianne Jewell had painstakingly sewn from sealskins began to rot away in the constant freezing rain. The group reached its breaking point when 4 men decided they could no longer wait. They attempted to sail a battered boat 300 miles across the open ocean to New Zealand and were never seen again. Soon after, another survivor died from illness and exposure, reducing the original group to just 10. 18 months of systematic hunger and isolation ground down their physical health and psychological stability. This agonizing struggle forged the feral figures the Amherst crew eventually discovered on the shore. Reintegrating into Victorian society proved jarring. The survivors' bodies rejected normal food, and they struggled to sleep in soft, enclosed beds. But while the castaways were trying to process their trauma, the rest of the world immediately fixated on the $50 million sitting at the bottom of the sea cave. Recovering that gold is a logistical nightmare. The western coast of Auckland Island is pockmarked with similar caves, and the survivors couldn't provide exact coordinates. Even if the right cave is found, the freezing temperatures and violent churning ocean currents make diving there incredibly lethal. Despite the extreme danger, the first salvage expedition was launched just months after the rescue. It failed. In 1870, a schooner named the Daphne sailed to the islands, desperate to claim the prize. Its search ended in disaster when a massive swell swamped one of its boats, drowning 6 men. Among those 6 drowned men was David Ashworth. He was one of the original castaways. He had endured 18 months of starvation and psychological torment, only to return to the island and die for the gold he had left behind. That incident cemented the legend of a cursed tomb. Over the next century, dozens of heavily funded expeditions would try to pry the treasure from the island's grip. Search boats vanished. Divers suffered permanent injuries. The General Grant continued to claim lives long after its timbers shattered in the dark. The ordeal did force one permanent change. In response to the disaster, the New Zealand government established a network of castaway depots across its remote sub-Antarctic islands, stocking them with preserved food and medical supplies to ensure no future shipwreck victims would have to endure this specific trauma. Today, despite 160 years of advancements in sonar, robotics, and diving technology, the gold has never been recovered. The dark ocean has swallowed it completely. That pitch-black cave in the Auckland Islands remains a gilded tomb, a monument to inaccessible wealth and a chilling testament to the absolute limits